Hi everyone, this is Dr. G. Amarendra Rao, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Vijnana Bharat Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Uh, in today's session, we will try to solve some numerical problems on composite systems involving combined modes of heat transfer. And majority of these problems are picked up from the previous engineering service examination. Let us go with the very first problem, which has appeared in engineering service examination, mechanical engineering, in 2016 for 10 marks. The problem goes like this. Liquid nitrogen is stored in a spherical, thin-walled metallic container at a temperature of 77 Kelvin. The container is of 1 meter diameter and is covered with evacuated silica powder. The insulation is 20 mm thick and the outer surface is exposed to the surroundings at 300 Kelvin. The convective heat transfer coefficient of the exposed surface is 25 watts per meter square Kelvin. The density and latent heat of evaporation of liquid nitrogen are 804 kg per meter cube and 2 lakh joule per kg respectively. Determine the rate of heat transfer to the liquid nitrogen and the rate of liquid boiled off. The thermal conductivity of the evacuated silica powder is 0.0017 watts per meter Kelvin. Neglect thermal resistance of the metallic container. So here we need to calculate heat transfer rate, and slight extension will enable us to find out the amount of liquid nitrogen that is boiled off because of the heat gained by the system. So inside temperature of the liquid nitrogen is 77 Kelvin. Inner radius of the container is 1 meter by 2, half a meter, 0.5 meters. Then outer radius of the container would be R1 plus thickness of insulation. They must be consistent. And 0.5 meters plus 20 mm, that is 0.02 meters, will give us 0.52 meters. Then outside temperature is 300 Kelvin. Since both Ti and T0 are in Kelvin, there is no need to have any conversion. Then H0 is 25 watts per meter square Kelvin. And thermal conductivity of the evacuated silica powder, you can see extremely small because of evacuation, because of air gap. Thermal conductivity is enormously reduced, and del T overall is Ta minus T0 as it is. So 77 minus 300, which is going to be minus 223 Kelvin. So a negative temperature gradient indicates that the direction of heat transfer will be opposite. It will be coming into the system. In other sense, system is going to gain the heat. Then density of liquid nitrogen, 804 kg per meter cube. Then HFG, that is enthalpy of evaporation, is 2 lakh 2 into 10 power 5 joules per kg. Then this problem can be attempted by a number of methods with which we have got a lot of familiarity. We can go ahead with electrical analogy, or we can use the concepts of overall heat transfer coefficients, either inner or outer. Then to begin with, we will tackle it by electrical analogy, which is a very powerful method. Then as I was telling earlier, we may notice that the direction of heat transfer is going to be opposite to the radial direction. When it's opposite, always we go out, that is positive radial direction. But here heat transfer is going to be reverse against the radial direction. In other sense, the liquid nitrogen is going to gain the heat, resulting in its flashing off or boiling. Since there is no mention made about inner heat transfer coefficient Hi, we can ignore the inner heat transfer resistance or inner convective resistance. Physically, we may interpret that since liquid nitrogen is undergoing a phase change, the corresponding heat transfer coefficient is going to be almost infinity, tremendous. As a result, the convective resistance is going to be very, very small. Because we know that the inner convective resistance, or for that matter, the convective resistance, is going to be inversely proportional to heat transfer coefficient. As a result, you don't have anything resisting on the inner surface. Therefore, the circuit diagram will contain only two resistances operating in series. One is conductive resistance offered by the silica powder. The other would be convective resistance offered by the outside air, as can be seen over here. We can see, since there is no inner convective resistance, Ti and T1 are identical. Then R1 is inner conductive resistance offered by the silica powder, and R2 is the outer convective resistance. In the middle you have got T2. And you may note that since Ti is less than T0, the direction of heat transfer is reverse. It's going inwards. Usually our direction would be towards right, that is going to be positive, but here it is happening towards left. Then when you blend both these resistances, we are going to get R equivalent operating across del T overall. That's going to be minus 233 Kelvin. Again you can see direction of heat transfer is reverse. Then R1 is the conductive resistance offered by the evacuated silica powder. And for a spherical system, it is R2 minus R1 by 4 pi K R1 R2. And when you substitute the entire data, it's going to be 3.6 degrees centigrade per watt. Then R2 is 1 by H0 4 by R2 square. That is convective resistance offered by the outside air. And H0 and R2 are available. When you substitute for them, you are going to get outer convective resistance as 0.01177 degrees centigrade per watt. Then since both the resistance are operating in series, we combine them to get R equivalent. That is going to be 3.61177. Now we know that Q is del T overall by R equivalent. That's minus 223 by R equivalent 3.61177, which is going to be minus 61.7425. And as I was telling repeatedly, negative sign indicates that the direction of heat transfer is opposite to the radial direction, and this heat is gained by the liquid nitrogen. As a result, it is likely to boil off. Then under steady state conditions, heat gained by the system should be same as the heat utilized by liquid nitrogen for its flashing. Flashing is phase change under evacuated conditions. Therefore, we can write Q as m dot n2 into HFG, where m dot n2 represents the mass of liquid nitrogen flashed in kg per second. HFG already we have seen, enthalpy of evaporation, and Q is calculated, that is 61.7425. m dot n2 we are looking for. HFG is 2 lakhs. When you substitute for this, we are going to get the amount of liquid nitrogen flashed is 3.087 10 power minus 4 kg per second. When you multiply by 3600, it's going to be 1.111 kg per hour. So this is how the problem has to be solved to get as many as 10 marks. So step-by-step procedure, understanding the physical meaning of the entire data is going to be very, very important. Then second problem which appeared in ESE ME 2011, again for 10 marks. It is of cylindrical geometry. A steel pipe of inner diameter 2 cm, outer diameter 2.4 cm, and thermal conductivity 54 watts per meter Kelvin carries hot water at 95. Then heat transfer coefficient between the inner surface of the steel pipe and hot water is 600. Then an asbestos insulation with thermal conductivity of 0.2 and thickness of 2 centimeters is put on the steel pipe. Heat is lost from the outer surface of the asbestos insulated pipe to the surroundings, which is at 30 degrees centigrade, and a convective heat transfer coefficient of 8. Then determine the rate of heat transfer per meter length of the pipe, then the temperature of the inner and outer surface of the steel pipe, and the outer surface of the asbestos insulation. So here we need to jot down the data consistently, appropriately. Inner radius is going to be 1 centimeter by 100, 0.01. Outer radius 1.2 centimeter, that is 0.012. Then steel K is 54, asbestos K is 0.2. Then R3 is going to be R2 plus thickness of insulation. So 1.2 centimeters plus 2 centimeters, 3.2 centimeters by 100, 0.032 meters. Then inner convective conditions are 95, 600. Outer convective conditions are 30 and 8. and we can notice that inner surface is at a higher temperature compared to outer. Therefore, we are likely to get positive heat transfer. And inside we have hot water at 95, outside we have air at 30. Therefore, we are going to get positive heat transfer. Again, we can try to solve this problem by all the three methods to get the same result: electrical analogy, concept of UA, and concept of U naught. So let's try to address this problem using the concept of UI. Then we know that for a radial system, 1 by Ui is equal to 1 by Hi plus R1 by K1 log R2 by R1 plus R1 by K2 log R3 by R2 plus R1 by R3 1 by H naught. You can see four terms: inner convective term, conductive term of steel, conductive term of asbestos, outer convective term. Then when you substitute the entire data that's given over here, you notice that your 1 by Ui is 0.08976 in reciprocal units of U, meter square degree centigrade per watt, and Ui is going to be 11.14 watts per meter square degree centigrade. Then Q by L is going to be Ui, then area 2 by R1L, that's inside area, into del T overall. Since you got everything with you, you can substitute that, and del T overall is Ti minus T naught, 95 minus 30, and you are going to get the result as 45.498 watts per meter length of the pipe. Since we don't have resistances, we can go to the basics to calculate the surface temperatures. Q by L should be equal to inner convection. That is Hi 2 pi R1 Ta minus T1. From this we can calculate T1, which is going to be 93.793 degrees centigrade. Since H is tremendous 600, there is hardly any drop, just a drop of 1.6 something. Then also this heat must be conducted through the steel pipe, that is 2 pi K1 log R2 by R1 T1 minus T2, which is going to furnish us with T2, which is going to be 93.768. Since it is steel, hardly any thickness, there is hardly any drop. So temperature profile is almost parallel to x-axis. And finally, this heat must be equal to conduction through the asbestos pipe. That's 2 pi K2 by log R3 by R2 T2 minus T3, which is going to give us T3, which is 58.255. There is a substantial drop in temperature because of extremely low thermal conductivity of 0.2. So this is how this problem has to be attempted using the concept of UI. Now let us try to pick up another problem involving composite walls, which is a general problem which may appear in any of the examinations. The problem runs like this: a composite wall of surface area 12 meters square is made up of 15 centimeters thick SS stainless steel, for which K is 18.5, followed by 12 centimeters thick cement layer, for which K is 1.1. Inner surface of stainless steel is exposed to furnace gas at 250 degrees centigrade with H is equal to 82, while the outer surface of cement layer is in air at 18 degrees centigrade with H is equal to 14.4. Draw the thermal circuit and determine equivalent resistance, heat transfer rate in kilowatts, and intermediate surface temperatures. Since we are interested in equivalent thermal resistance, we need to follow only electrical analogy. Then one can show the schematic diagram, only two layers with inner convection, outer convection. You can see Ta is biggest of all, so as much as 250, T0 is smallest of all. In the middle you got T1, T2, T3. Then inside environment is HITI, outside environment is H0, T0. Then data can be jotted down correctly. Area is 12 meters square, thickness is 0.15 meters, K1 18.5, K2 1.1, L2 is 0.12, inside environment 250-82, outside environment 18 14.4, overall thermal potential 250 minus 18, which is going to be 232. Then you can draw the corresponding circuit diagram involving four resistances: inner convective resistance, conductive resistance offered by steel, conductive resistance offered by cement, outer convective resistance. Since heat transfer is taking place one after the other, all these resistances are going to be in series. Then combine them together to get R equivalent, which is going to operate across the del T overall. Then we can always calculate individual resistances since we are interested in surface temperatures. R1 inner convective resistance 1 by HIA, 1 by 82 into 12, 1.016 in 10 power minus 3 inner convective resistance. R2 conductive resistance offered by stainless steel L1 by K1A. If you substitute the data, it's going to be extremely small, 6.756 10 power minus 4. That's conductive resistance offered by SS. R3 conductive resistance offered by cement L2 by K2A. If you put the data, 9.09 10 power minus 3. And finally R4 outer convective resistance, which is 1 by H0A. And if you put up the data, which is going to be 5.787 10 power minus 3. Then as I was telling, since all these resistances are operating in series, put them together to get the equivalent resistance, which is going to be 0.01656. Then we know Q as del T overall by R equivalent. If you substitute the data, it's going to be 14002.39 watts divided by 1000 to get in kilowatts, 14.002 kilowatts. This is the first part of your problem. Then when you make the energy balance, we can show that this Q should be equal to inner convection, Ta minus T1 by R1, which is going to give us T1, which is 235.77. This Q also should be equal to conduction through SS, T1 minus T2 by R2. Again, if we substitute the data, T2 is going to be 226.3. This Q should also be equal to conduction through cement layer, which is T2 minus T3 by R3. Again, if you put up the data, T3 is going to be 99.018. So this is how you calculate the intermediate temperatures of this composite wall subjected to combined modes of heat transfer. You can see this Q is Ti minus T1 by R1. You confine only to this, get T1. This Q should be T1 minus T2 by R2, get T2. Like that you keep on traveling towards right till you get the final surface temperature. These are some of the general problems, descriptive problem for which you have to spend some time. Now let us look at some MCQs, multiple choice questions. The equivalent thermal conductivity of the wall shown in the figure below is appeared in ESE 2010. K1 plus K2 by 2, K1 K2 by K1 plus K2, 2 K1 K2 by K1 plus K2, square root of K1 K2. So you got a composite wall of same thickness L and L. Thermal conductivity is K1 K2. Of course, some area you can have, some heat transfer rate you can have. Then Q can be written as A times delta T by L by K1 plus L by K2. Because L by K1A is the thermal resistance offered by first wall, L by K2A is the thermal resistance offered by the second wall. This is equation 1, which corresponds to the given diagram, given composite wall. Then we replace this wall by a mathematical wall of thickness same L plus L to L. Thermal conductivity K equivalent, same heat transfer rate, same area. Then we can find Q as A delta T by 2L by K equivalent, because its conductive resistance will be 2L by K equivalent A. A is going upstairs. Then when you compare these two equations, and simplify it, you are going to get K equivalent as 2 times K1 K2 by K1 plus K2. That is option C is going to be perfectly correct. So simple work you have to do maybe for a couple of minutes before you arrive at the result. In a similar fashion, the equivalent thermal conductivity of the wall shown in the figure below is, earlier we have taken same thickness L and L, same area K1 K2, materials are in series. Now we'll have same thickness the L, and half of the area is occupied by material K1, bottom part of the area is occupied by material K2. A1 plus A2 will be equal to A, because A by 2 plus A by 2. Since these two layers are in parallel, you are going to get two resistances working in parallel, R1 and R2. R1 is going to be L by K1 by A by 2. R2 is going to be L by K2 by A by 2. And we know that when two resistances are operating in parallel, their equivalent resistance is the ratio of their product to their sum, R1 R2 by R1 plus R2, which is going to be L by K1 by A by 2, already I told you, into L by K2 by A by 2 by L by K1 A by 2 plus L by K2 A by 2, and we can cancel the common terms. Finally, you are going to get R equivalent as 2L by A times K1 plus K2. This is the expression for R equivalent of this particular system, and Q is del T by R equivalent, that's R12, and when you substitute this back over here, you are going to get Q as K1 plus K2 by 2L times A delta T. This is the original equation for the given composite wall. Now we replace this by an equivalent mathematical wall, same thickness L, total area A by 2 plus A by 2A. Material is having a mathematical thermal conductivity K equivalent. And for this wall, the heat transfer rate is given by K equivalent A by L delta T. Now we compare equations 1 and 2. That's K equivalent A by L delta T is equal to K1 plus K2 A by 2L delta T. When you cancel all the common terms A, L, delta T, then your K equivalent is going to be K1 plus K2 by 2. This is how you try to work out the problem when the walls are placed one over the other. Then another problem appeared in Engineering Services 2010 for a couple of marks. A refrigerator van has to be maintained at minus 10 degrees centigrade while the ambient temperature is plus 32 degrees centigrade. The total surface area of the van is 25 meters square. The wall of the van are of 16 millimeters plywood, K is 0.06 at inner surface, and 12 mm of glass wool, same K 0.06. The capacity of the van in terms of refrigeration will be 0.1, 0.35, 0.55, 0.65 tons of refrigeration. Then if you jot down the data, nothing is mentioned about the convection. Since inside surface is at a low temperature compared to outside, direction of heat transfer is going to be reverse, no issue. Van is going to gain the heat, and that heat has to be removed to keep it persistently and consistently at minus 10 degrees centigrade. So T1 is minus 10, T3 the outside temperature is plus 32, area 25 meters square, and both the materials have same thermal conductivity. Thickness of first layer is 0.015, thickness of second layer is 0.012. Then delta overall is minus 10, minus 32 is going to be minus 42. Then if you calculate 1 by U, that's overall heat transfer coefficient, L1 by K1 plus L2 by Q2, 0.015 by 0.06 plus 0.012 by 0.06, it's going to be 0.45 meter square degree centigrade per watt. Reciprocal will give you, that is 2.222 watts per meter square Kelvin. And Q will be equal to UA delta overall. U is available, delta A is available 25, delta is minus 42. You get as minus 2.333 watts or minus 2.333 kilowatts. The negative sign indicates that the system refrigerator van is gaining the heat. And for the system to be at minus 10 degrees centigrade, that is steady state, above heat must be removed from the system. Thus, the above heat transfer rate should be equal to the capacity of the refrigerator van. So, plant capacity is 2.333 kilowatts, and we know that 1 ton of refrigeration is 3.5 kilowatts. Therefore, the plant capacity in tons of refrigeration will be 2.333 by 3.5, which is going to be 0.666 tons of refrigeration, which is very, very close to option D. So you need to have the basic idea of how the refrigerators and air conditioners are, their capacity is calculated, how they are specified. Then we look at another problem appeared in Engineering Services 2012. A furnace wall of 10 centimeters thickness has K of 0.1 kilowatt, you can see watts per meter Kelvin. Inside temperature is 525, outside temperature is 25. Surface area 20 meters square. The heat flux through the wall is, here there are two peculiarities. One is K is given in kilowatts multiply by 1000 to have 10 watts. Second thing is that yes, given area, but you want to calculate heat flux. Heat flux is heat transfer rate per unit area. Therefore, area is redundant. We may not use it in our calculations. Got four options: 50, 500, 1000, 10,000 kilowatt per meter square. And if you jot down the data, L is 10 centimeters, 0.1 meters, K is zero point 0.1 kilowatt per meter Kelvin, multiply by 1000, 100, T1 525, T2 25, del T overall will be 500, and Q prime is Q by A, that is equal to K by L, T1 minus T2, so 100 into 500 by 0.1, which is going to be 500,000 watts per meter square, divided by 1000, 500 kilowatts per meter square. Therefore, you need to pick up option B. You need to pick up option B. Remember here area 20 meter square is not at all used. Then finally, we will look at a problem which appeared in latest ESC 2018. A cold storage has 23 centimeters brick wall on the outside, 8 centimeter plastic foam on the inside. The inside and outside temperatures are -2 plus 22. If thermal conductivity of the brick and foam are 0.98 and 0.02 respectively, inside and outside heat transfer coefficients are 29 and 12 respectively, then the rate of heat removal for a projected wall area of 90 meters square will nearly be 503 watts, 497 watts, 490 watts, 481 watts. And we are going to realize that it is going to be 497 by making simple calculations. Remember, you are removing the heat, that is heat is going away, which means that you are going to get a negative sign. L1 is 8 centimeters, 0.08 meters. L2 is 23 centimeters, 0.23 meters. K1 0.02, that is foam. K2 0.98, that is brick. This is foam, this is brick. TA -2, T0 22, HI 29, H0 12 in watts per meter square Kelvin. The delta overall -2, -22, -24 degrees centigrade. Then the wall area normal to the x direction is 90 meters square. Then this can be done by electrical analogy. You can draw the corresponding circuit diagram having four resistances: inner convective resistance, conductive resistance offered by foam, conductive resistance offered by brick, outer convective resistance. Since TA is -2 extremely low and T0 is 22 extremely high, direction of heat transfer is going to be reverse negative. Then you can as well show the corresponding equivalent diagram or equivalent working between TA and T0, del T overall. Then direction of heat transfer is going to be reverse. Then R equivalent, since we don't require intermediate temperatures, can be directly calculated as 1 by A 1 by HI plus L1 by K1 plus L2 by K2 plus 1 by H0. 1 by HIA, L1 by K1A, L2 by K2A, 1 by H0. Already we know it. Then if you substitute the data and simplify it, it is going to be 0.04835 degrees centigrade per watts. Then we know Q is del T overall by R equivalent. That's -24 by 0.04835, which is minus 496.38, which can be approximated as 497. Then negative sign indicates that the system is gaining heat. It also implies that the direction of heat transfer is opposite to our convention. So these are some of the typical problems which appeared in the previous ESC examinations. And I have taken up problems for the last 10 years only, 2010 onwards, so that everything will be consistent. And these problems, we have done nothing but substituted the given data appropriately. And I hope that these problems will enhance your understanding of these composite systems. And you also must have got some idea of how the problems look like in one of the formidable examinations for engineering graduates. That's engineering service examinations. And if you get confidence of solving these problems, I am sure that it becomes a cakewalk for you to attempt any type of other examinations like a semester examination or other PSU examinations. So with this we'll conclude the show, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Take care of yourself. Thank you.